Good
Okay.
morning. Hey, good morning.
I'm gonna move over to Allan. I feel like I want to be closer.
You want to be close to him?
My brother over here. My brother Allan. I want to be closer.
All right.
Not too far apart.
Welcome.
Welcome to Detroit Black and White, our Saturday mornings edition. Um, if you are watching, you know what we want you to do. You know what we want you to do. We want you to like, subscribe, and share, and tell your friends about what the greatest show on these YouTube streets. I am Vanessa Moss, and I am in these YouTube streets. I'm here remotely. We also have on deck, he's taking copious notes. That's what he does for a living. Mr. Allan Lengel, Washington Post, Deadline, Detroit. Good morning, Allan.
Good morning. Good morning. Where are you at?
I'm right outside of Chicago. Chicago, as you guys know, I love to dance. So this is a dancing weekend. So as I said,
Will you give us an example? Will you show us something? Do you need a partner or what? Can you do it?
Yeah, I need a partner. So when I see you and Allan, we could do a trio, what they call a trio. So the three of us will dance.
Well, I was watching
Call it a menage de trois.
I was watching
We
this.
talk about that the other day, Allan.
I was watching the Savannah. Is it the Savannah Bananas and the umpire dancing with the catcher? Did you guys see all this crazy stuff? I guess they're coming here. The Savannah Bananas.
No, I've never heard of it. What is that?
It's a baseball team, and they sell out everywhere they go. It's entertainment.
Oh,
It's
I have seen them. Yeah.
Anyway, so I was thinking about you when you were talking about dancing. You needed a partner. I was thinking about the umpire in the Savannah Bananas dancing with the catcher. But anyway.
Oh, okay. Well, we also have on deck the guy that's talking about he want me to show him how to dance, and he's going to dance with me. The former chief of police down in Trenton, Michigan. Jim Nardone. Good morning, Jim.
Good morning to you. Good morning to all our friends out there today tuning in. Thank you for tuning in. We missed you last night, and we're glad you're here this morning. So we have a great guest today. We're looking forward to meeting with. He's here now, Mr. William Nokes. So
okay, Bill is there already. Okay.
Yeah, maybe we can. Why don't we bring him on, and then we can get to our outrages later. Why don't you come over here, Bill? Why don't you sit where I am?
We're going to do introductions. Come on in, sir. Jim Nardone. Nice to meet you.
Hey,
very nice to meet you.
Thanks for coming by.
Come on in, grab a chair.
You're talking into the microphone.
So, I'm going to ask for you guys to formally introduce him. I'm going to informally introduce him, but I'm going to do that after I give shout outs to Dwayla Boys. Larry Hova. Larry says if only one person watches us, they should find something else to do. Huh? What? Okay, Jill Sheridan, good morning. Good morning, Mr. 1213, Kenneth Reed, and Dorian Denard. Good morning, all. So, Bill Nokes is someone that I know. He definitely is a fearless fighter. He is a public defender. I will see him in the Frank Murphy Hall of Justice streets. He's been in practice since, I think, 1982. 1982. And I thought it would be fitting since we're coming upon this election season in the next year or so. I thought it would be fitting to have Bill on. So I want you guys, I'm sure you guys read the bio, his press release. If you guys could go over it, because I'll be honest with you, I just browsed over it.
Impressive. United States Air Force veteran, JAG attorney, right? Been practicing since 1982. He's a Democrat with a small d, and I appreciate that. I think he believes in all those amendments that come to us in the Bill of Rights. So I was happy to see that, and
We also
welcome. Let's talk to the man.
Go ahead and talk about what you do.
This is certainly an interesting experience.
Yeah,
I'm
thank
not
you for
used to
coming.
talking behind the microphone.
So you're running for Attorney General.
Yes.
Why?
Why not?
Oh, well, tell me why not.
I'll tell you why.
Tell me why not.
I'll tell you why.
Why or why not? Either one.
It's one of those times when, as I've said before, when Benjamin Franklin was asked what kind of government the United States of America would be, he said, a republic, if you can keep it. We are now at the point where that is a serious question today. Is it a republic? And if it is, can we keep it? And we are seeing incursions daily on the rights that citizens have. And as the Attorney General of the state of Michigan, I have the ability to protect the citizenry of Michigan, as well as all people of Michigan. I mean, one of the things that bothered me the most is watching ICE agents, or purported ICE agents, because we don't know exactly if they are, given that they're wearing masks.
Right.
Not arrest people, because basically they're jumping out of cars and grabbing people and stuffing them into cars. That's a concern. It's also a concern when we talk about freedom of expression, freedom of speech, and people don't have the right to say what they want to say these days. That's not right. And so I'm running at this point in my life because I believe that those are things that need to be protected. We need to be protected.
Are you concerned about the Trump? It sounds like you're concerned about the Trump administration. It's not happening from the state level, but rather the federal level. Is that fair?
I'm concerned about that from the perspective that it affects people in this state. Right. For example, if they are going to diminish SNAP benefits, that's certainly going to affect people in this state. Right. If they are looking at diminishing veterans benefits, that's certainly going to affect people in the state, and it's something that's going to affect me and most of my family, because every one of the siblings in my family has served in the military.
And how does the Attorney General, when we talk about SNAP, all those type of benefits, what's the role of Attorney General in that?
Well, the role of the Attorney General is to actually file suit and pursue it in the courts, and that's what I would do. I mean, this isn't the first time that I've dealt with governmental entities. Some years ago, I worked for Wayne County, and Wayne County had spent decades negotiating with the state of Michigan for the state of Michigan to take over the Davison Freeway and renovate it. Finally, they agreed to do it. They took it over, and then under the Engler administration, they decided, we're simply going to make it a local access road, and it's no longer going to be a highway. It was a major source of difficulty for Highland Park, because at that time, Chrysler was in the process of moving from Highland Park to Auburn Hills.
Right.
It would have killed Highland Park. Mm-hmm. So I filed suit on behalf of the county and on behalf of Highland Park, and received a temporary restraining order from the court. And eventually, Mr. Duggan was able to negotiate with the Engler administration, and they finally agreed to do what they had previously agreed to do. And that's why the Davison Freeway is open today.
Nice.
You bring up an important point. You talk about Social Security benefits and some of the benefits that are eroding, are being taken away from us. So we have a lot of our viewers, at least some of our viewers, City of Detroit retirees, Wayne County retirees. You work for Wayne County, and as Attorney General, we need to make these people whole. So how would you, as Attorney General, see that the government maintains their responsibility when it comes to promises made, whether it's pension benefits or healthcare benefits? We know that the Detroit city employees, a lot of them lost their health benefits. So I think these are the things you're talking about. So how would you protect those as Attorney General?
Well, it's not so much about protecting them, because they've already been taken away.
In this instance,
it's about how do I restore them? What do I do to restore them? And it's a combination of things. The first thing is legal action, because I believe that that's appropriate. The next thing is to talk with folks in the legislature to see if legislative action can be done to restore it. And finally, there's something that most people don't think much of these days. It's something called moral suasion, where we go talk about an issue to the point where people actually go, you know, he may have a point there. Maybe we can do something about that.
And these are promises made. They should be promises kept. And legally, you think?
I would agree. I think that they should be, not only should they be kept, but they shouldn't have been taken away in the first place.
So when you're looking at the big picture, you're talking about Social Security and veterans benefits and SNAP programs. Right. And these are promises that generally were made to the people in the community, and they're being taken away from them.
Exactly.
Let me ask you, the National Guard being deployed to different states is obviously a big issue. How aggressively would you deal with that? Or do you see that as an issue?
Oh, not only is an issue, but it demonstrates just how much this administration in Washington is willing to violate the law. There's something called the Posse Comitatus Act, which has been in existence for more than 150 years. And what it does is it essentially bans the use of the military in law enforcement activities. When I was in the Air Force as a judge advocate, I frequently lectured on that subject whenever we were going to have units deployed. Because in many instances, we would not only have the operational units deployed, but we would also have security police deployed to protect them. But there was a limitation on what the security police could do. And so I made clear to them what it was they could do and couldn't do, and they were bound to follow the Posse Comitatus Act. The Trump administration has literally thrown that in the garbage, saying that we don't have to do that.
Right.
And they did it. They've done it through subterfuge. And one way they did it was to expand the areas that are around military bases. They've expanded them by as much as 100 miles so that they could then say, well, this is a part of the military installation. So clearly we have the right to protect that installation, which is
scary.
It's a fiction.
It's scary.
So you're the Attorney General, and you get a message from Washington, D.C., that great city in a few hundred miles from here, and they say that the National Guard's coming on Monday, and we're going to put them at right here at Campus Martius Park. What's your reaction? What would you do?
The lawsuit is immediate, seeking an injunction, and it would be on an emergency basis. And hopefully it'd have a hearing before the court, if not Sunday night, certainly Monday morning. I mean, that's the thing, is you have to be prepared to move quickly. When I was with Wayne County, there was an issue that came up because there was a court in Detroit called Recorder's Court.
Yes.
Which
spent plenty of days there, sir.
Which was long the criminal court for the city of Detroit. In 1995, what happened is the state wanted to merge Recorder's Court into the Third Circuit Court. And one of the issues, well, there were two issues. One is it going to diminish African-American representation in the number of judges and in terms of the jury pool that would be drawn into the court? And then the other one was, who's going to pay for this?
You know what? I hate to interrupt you guys, but I want us to take a break, and then you can finish up, okay? Because we're hitting up against a break time, and it sounds like you were just on a roll. And I really want to hear what you have to say, but we got to shoot the break, and then you'll come back, Bill, and do point 1 and point 2. Okay?
Absolutely.
All right.
Hi, I'm Eric Sabri, your Wayne County Treasurer. Are you living in the home of a deceased family member and you're facing property tax foreclosure, or maybe you know someone who's in the same situation? The probate process may be helpful to you. If you file a probate petition and notify our office, the foreclosure proceedings will be halted during the probate process. We have several nonprofit partners who have free attorneys who can assist you. Contact our office, 313-224-5990, or email us at taxinfo@waynecounty.com. Don't lose your family property. Some of these properties have been in the family for 4 or 5 generations. Contact us now. We're here to help.
We're back, Detroit Black and White, Saturday morning's edition. We want to thank everybody that is in the chat. We're going to get to you guys, but we're going to return to William Nokes, who is running for Attorney General for the state of Michigan. And he was right getting started with talking about the city of Detroit. They had a court that was Recorder's Court, and how what happened. There was 2 issues. So go ahead, Bill.
Yeah, the first thing was the question of representation by African Americans. That was a court that was largely dominated by African American jurists at the time. When it expanded to, when it was merged into Third Circuit Court, the number of African American jurists was reduced compared to the overall number of jurists. The second thing was the question of a jury pool, because the jury pool was in fact entirely drawn from Detroit when it was Recorder's Court, and now over the years it's been drawn from the entire county. And as an attorney who practices in the Third Circuit these days, one of the things I see is how few African Americans sometimes are in the jury pool. If I'm trying a case, and I try quite a few of them, I might find that they'll bring 40 prospective jurors into the courtroom, and only 4 or 5 will be African American, and typically only 1 or 2 will be African American men. And so sometimes that's problematic. But getting back to the merger, we needed to make sure that there was enough funding for it, and some assurances from the state that it would be essentially equitable in terms of African Americans and how they were treated. And so I filed suit on behalf of the county, and the county then received a temporary restraining order prohibiting the state from going forward until such time as those issues were discussed and resolved. And eventually, for the most part, they were resolved by the McNamara administration and their interaction with the Engler administration.
I have a question. Hospitals, we've seen some major mergers here in recent years. I mean, we've seen Ford merging with, I guess, Ascension, and we've seen Corewell or Beaumont merging with Spectrum and Grand Rapids, and now they're Corewell. Corewell's a nonprofit, and yet, I mean, most of these mergers aren't good for patients. People get cut. The salaries go up on the executives, and the nurses, get laid off, and they go for cheaper anesthesiologists. You and I were talking during the break. There are some things that are beyond the state's control, but what can the Attorney General's office do to make sure that people get the best health care in the state?
Well, to the extent that there are assurances that are made when these mergers take place, then the Attorney General certainly can make sure that those promises are kept. The other thing is oftentimes when there are these types of mergers, they require some state funding in terms of whether they're moving a building, whether they're building a new building. And there are assurances often given on how many employees, if they move to another town, how many employees they're going to employ in that town.
Right.
And so I think it would be incumbent upon the Attorney General to make sure that those promises are kept. That's what it's all about, making sure that people live up to what they say they're going to live up to.
Can we go to some of our
Exactly. That's
our viewers, our colleagues are making a lot of great comments, and I'm sure
are.
Bill wouldn't mind standing by. There's a couple questions for you,
Sure.
and we'll go through them, and then you can address them when we're done.
Right. First of all, I want to say good morning to Jill Sheridan. Ira Todd joined us. Kenneth Reed said Bill is seeking the nomination of Michigan's next Attorney General. When you get a chance, I want you to tell us, Bill, what that process is. Ms. Jill's talked about some states are participating, though. Mr. 1213 said, how could one tell a legit ICE agent snatching people off the streets from decoys pretending to be ICE agents? Ira says They weren't promises. They were contractual agreements.
And that's kind of a global point I was making. Ira's absolutely right. These were bankruptcy-induced promises is where I was going with that. So they were promised before the bankruptcy in Detroit. And that's why I look at it, promises made. He's absolutely right. They were contractual. They threw the contracts out with the bankruptcy. Wayne County did not go bankrupt, but they also got rid of some of those contractual promises.
Okay. We also have Karen Winston. She says she's late. Did she hear the National Guard will be here Monday? Go ahead.
Can I talk to Karen for just a second? Karen, I wish you would go back because we talked about one of the issues that you care so much about. Go ahead, Vanessa. I'm sorry.
Miss Sheila says, Mr. Bill, how would you support homeowners against deed fraud?
So which question should I take first?
Whichever one.
Let me deal with deed fraud.
Yep.
One of the things is that deed fraud, particularly in Wayne County, is largely addressed by the Register of Deeds as well as the prosecutor's office.
Right.
Now, one of the problems with that is that there's only one person in the Wayne County prosecutor's office that deals with deed fraud.
Right.
And I think we could supplement what Wayne County does by having a unit inside of the Attorney General's office that could also do that, because that is a serious problem when people are getting ripped off. They think they own a house and then they find that they don't. That's wrong. And I would do everything I can to make sure that we prevent that. And if it is done, to make sure that the person that does it is appropriately punished.
Bill, I've got a quick question. I covered, when I was at the Detroit News and the State Capitol Bureau, I covered the Attorney General's office. That was one of my beats. And there's a lot of divisions there, environmental, social services, all that stuff. In terms of management skills, it's a big office. What management skills do you bring to the table for a job like that?
Well, for approximately 6 years, I was the executive vice president of the Meyer Corporation. And in that particular role, I had the legal department, the IT department, the real estate department, the construction department, as well as the strategic organization.
And how many employees would you say that was?
Approximately 750.
Wow.
And a budget of about $1 billion.
Wow.
And so that was something that, I learned how to manage. And at one point I had close to 20 direct reports that were vice presidents in the organization, and all totaled around 750 employees. I think.
And how did that go?
Oh, it went quite well. I think it went quite well. There are times when you have to know what you know, and then have to know what you don't know, and learn to rely on people who do know a certain area. Now, in my background is quite broad. I've handled environmental. In fact, I worked with the county. When I was with the county, I worked on an environmental issue in what was the old airfield that they used to build bombers on?
Selfridge?
No, the one out in Western Wayne. I can't remember the name of it, but they built bombers out there during World War II. And that was an ongoing issue in terms of the pollution to the land around it.
Right.
And that had been going on since World War II. So I've dealt with that. I've dealt with civil matters because for many years I represented companies like General Motors in civil litigation.
Are we aggressive enough here in the state of Michigan on pollution? I just posted a story saying Michigan was 6th in the country in terms of particle pollution, just behind number 5, Los Angeles. We see the Marathon Oil Company has always been an issue out there. Have we been aggressive enough in Michigan about pollution and dumping of hazardous materials in our state? Well,
see, the difficulty in Michigan is that over the years, as jobs have left Michigan, Michigan has tried to do things to either bring those jobs back or to keep them here. And so that's always an issue. But I don't think we've been aggressive enough in terms of dealing with pollution. For approximately a year, I worked for Severstal Steel, handling government relations for them. And one of the things that we were pressed on was reducing the amount of emissions into the air. But we also had to balance that with roughly 100 workers who were making $100,000 a year or more in a steel factory.
Right.
It's brutal. It's a brutal business. And you're talking about people who, many of them hadn't gone beyond 6th grade. So
Right.
how far do we go in terms of aggressively pursuing pollution? Now, there's certain things that we certainly can go after. Years ago, I was talking about PFAS and the infiltration of PFAS into places like near Selfridge National Guard Base. And there was another Wordsmith Air Force Base, former Wordsmith Air Force Base, and even outside of Grand Rapids when a company like Wolverine had dumped some things. Well, we certainly can go after them, and we should. We also should go after the United States government to clean up the mess that they left behind when they closed a base like Wordsmith.
That's
Okay. Bill, I have a couple of questions. One, you have to seek the nomination from the Democratic Party to be the nominee for the Attorney General's office. Could you give our audience an overview of how that occurs? That's one. Two, there has been criticism or observation, however one you want to use it, that when you have offices like the Attorney General office, that those people who get in office, they use it as a political pulpit. And so I want you to address your views on that. And three, one of our commenters asked about what would you do about going after insurance companies not paying people for car damages to their vehicles, etc., when the state mandates us to have insurance. Basically, the insurance companies are pimping us. You know, you pay the insurance companies to have coverage. It's mandated by the state. Then when you ask for them to pay out on your coverage, they're not covering you. They're asking, what would you do as the Attorney General about that? Okay, so I asked you two things.
Let me answer the first question. The process for becoming the Attorney General nominee is the same as for Secretary of State, but it's different from anything else. What happens is when the convention is held in April of next year, there will be basically a vote among all the folks who are delegates to that convention as to who they want to be the next Attorney General nominee for the Democratic Party. And at this point, there are 4 folks who are in the race. 3 of them are prosecutors or former prosecutors. And I'm the only one who's from the criminal defense side, although I must admit I have been a prosecutor in the past. And one of the things that I tell people is being a prosecutor is akin to painting by numbers.
Yep.
Everything is prescribed.
Yep.
Being a good defense counsel is like being a Picasso. You have to be able to draw outside the lines. You have to be able to create. And that's something I've been very successful at. Over the course of my career, I've tried more than 400 cases, and I've been highly successful, winning all but about maybe 10 or 12.
In which courts have you been primarily?
I've been in different courts around the country because I've been a partner in a couple of different law firms as well as now being
and locally here, federal, state.
I've practiced locally in the Eastern District Federal Court, Washington, D.C. in the Federal Court. I also represented General Motors in cases in Florida, Georgia, Delaware, New Jersey, and Texas. So I've practiced in various places around the country.
It sounds like you have a rounded experience more than, let's say, your name may not be as recognizable as Kara McDonald. And how do you deal with somebody like that who's really been, particularly with the Oxford schools, she was on CNN all the time, and she has a higher profile How do you offset that?
Have her come to a debate with me.
Yeah.
Well, I look forward to that. I look forward to a debate with her or with Eli Savitt or with Mark Totten, any one of them.
Right.
So
we look forward to it. I had a, I gave you 3 questions. I need you to get back to those 3 questions. But it's 9:30. We need to take a break, and then we could go to you, Jim, and then if you can resume answering the questions, Bill.
Okay.
All right.
Homeownership opportunities are rising in the city of Detroit, and there's a house out there that's right for you and your family. You don't even have to worry about credit or getting a loan. You can win a house for as little as $1,000 and pay for the renovation cost as you go. It all starts at buildingdetroit.org and the Detroit Land Bank Authority. Our auction and Own It Now programs offer a variety of houses and neighborhoods all over the city of Detroit. These homes are in desperate need of repair and new ownership. You can begin by going to our interactive map and detailed property listings to find the right fit for you. It won't be easy, and renovation costs are not cheap, but our compliance team is there every step of the way. We will help you track your progress and connect you with local discounts to save you more money. We have already sold more than 15,000 homes in the city of Detroit, and our inventory is shrinking fast, so you don't want to miss out on this wonderful opportunity. Start your home buying journey today by visiting buildingdetroit.org.
We're back, Detroit in Black and White, Saturday morning's edition. We have our guest here, William Nokes, who is running for the State Attorney General's office. Before we went on break, Jim said he wanted to say something. Bill has to finish answering the 3 questions that I asked him. And then, Bill, you have a lot of questions on the in the chat, so we're going to get to those questions. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, Vanessa, you asked about political ambitions.
Yes.
Yeah. A lot of folks refer to the AG position as almost governor.
Mm-hmm.
I just turned 69. I have no political ambitions beyond being the next attorney general. And if I'm fortunate enough to do that for 2 terms, thank you very much to the citizens of Michigan. And I'm prepared to ride off into the sunset and spend time with my kids and grandkids. So I have no political ambitions beyond attorney general, because I believe that's where I can be most effective. And that's it for me.
Have you run for office before?
I have run for attorney general before.
Okay. And how long ago was that?
That was in 2018 when Dana Nessel and Pat Miles were also in the race. And
Sure.
Dana won that one.
Sure.
Okay. Bill, can you answer the question about going after insurance companies?
Oh, absolutely. I must admit, I used to be an insurance defense lawyer. So I understand how this works. And I have had to address the matter of citizens or people suing insurance companies. Now, fortunately, most of the cases that I handled, it turned out that the people suing were doing so fraudulently.
Mm-hmm.
But in this instance, if the insurance company takes your money and you have a contract with them, they need to pay you. And it's as simple as that. Now, much of the difficulty is that when you have plaintiffs' lawyers, and I won't mention them, who say that you can't get your money unless you go through us, well, that's not true. But you also need to know how to deal with an insurance company, because they have the money, they know what they need to do, and they should do it. And as Attorney General, I would hold their feet to the fire to make sure they do it, because they are licensed to sell insurance here in the state of Michigan. And if they aren't doing what they are obligated to do, then we should hold their licenses. They should be threatened about having a license.
I have a question. In the city of Detroit, car insurance is a big issue for people, and we see some people using suburban addresses to get cheaper rates. When at one point in the city, I was paying almost $5,000, and I had a clean, record for many, many years. And I changed to Progressive, and I got it cut in half. But and then when I called the insurance company, I said, "Well, why did you suddenly?" They bumped up my insurance, and they said, "Well, you had an accident in 2014." And I said, "Well, you gave me the insurance in 2015, and you gave me that discount, and you still bumped it even another 1,000." And they said, "Well, because a lot of motorists in Detroit aren't insured." And I said, "Well, if you were charging the rates in Southfield and West Bloomfield, you'd have a lot of people who aren't insured." How do we get some equity in the city of Detroit?
Well, we have to address the fact that redlining is involved.
Absolutely.
And it's illegal, but it's also very difficult to prove because the insurance companies will certainly have all kinds of statistics that they can show to you to illustrate their point that they aren't doing anything wrong. I mean, they're angels.
Yeah.
They're trying to help people.
But I mean, for me, one of the things they said is, well, there's a lot of people who don't have insurance, and you're exposed to those driving. And I say, well, what's the difference if I live in the suburbs and I work in the city? I come into downtown Detroit every day and exposed to the same people, and they don't have an answer for that.
Well, there is no answer for that. But the thing that I want people to focus in on is that they have figured a way to maximize the profits that they get and minimize payouts.
Yeah.
And yes, it is clear that there are a number of folks in Detroit who are uninsured, but the rates are exorbitant in many instances.
Yeah.
One of the things that we have to deal with is paying for what happens if you're injured in an accident and the coverage that you're required to carry for that. Some people like me, if I'm injured, I'm covered by my health insurance from my workplace. A lot of folks don't have that because there are quite a number of folks who don't have health insurance.
And I'll tell you, at the time when my rate was almost $5,000, I was living in a loft 2 blocks from Comerica Park. I had indoor parking. I was walking to work to our offices at Griswold, and still I was paying an exorbitant rate.
Yeah, it's outrageous. I know, my wife's daughter moved here from Atlanta, and her concern is the how much higher insurance for her car is here than it was in Georgia.
Right.
So Jim wanted to ask you a question, and Allan just went on and on and on and on and on.
So I just want to talk to our friends out there, those that support the show, those that are contributors to the show, that take part of the show every 3 times a week. I'm going to start with Amanda Tibble. Good morning, Amanda. Adolph, the answer is Adolph will be back shortly.
Absolutely.
He's doing fine. The struggle is real when it comes to car insurance, and we talked about Cure Auto Insurance and some of those challenges. Dwayla, I like the gentleman's conversation. We're talking to Bill Nokes, William Nokes, who is a candidate for the Attorney General's office, state of Michigan, who has an extensive, look him up. You can't help but be impressed by his resume and his experience, both in private industry and in government. So I like that dual track.
Well, it's one of those things where I've always found, well, first of all, my entire family has been in government service to an extent because I have 3 brothers and sisters, and we've all served in the military. My dad served in the Air Force for 26 years. My grandfather served in the Army for 23 years. So that's part of our DNA. And what I found is that there are moments when I would move from private to public in an effort to stay sharp. There's you're not going to try nearly as many cases in the private sector as you would if you were with the U.S. government. And I was fortunate in one year in 1998 to be asked to join the Independent Counsel's office. And it was there that I prosecuted the Secretary of Agriculture of the United States for corruption. some people considered it an unsuccessful prosecution, but it also showed the beginnings of where we are now, when the jury came back and said, well, everybody in Washington does that.
Everybody's crooked here.
Everybody's
Sorry.
crooked.
Right.
How would you handle organizations that prey on homeless people to get funding that don't support the vulnerable citizens with funding? Miss Sheila, if you'll just hold on that for a minute. Timothy, my condolences to Miss Cheeks Kilpatrick. And Kenneth reminds us it's Willow Run. Thank you. Ira Todd says Bill is the real deal. And, you know, that's the gold seal. If Ira Todd says it, the city of Detroit should be embracing what Mr. Todd says, a Detroit legend.
Well, thank you.
Deed fraud is a thing here in the area. Kenneth, good morning, Angela. Bill Nokes has a deep history in the legal community and the community in general. Jill Sheridan. Jill, the question, I believe it's voter registration, right? That's how we get the
Yes.
the jury.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Voter registration is the way that they pick jurors, and it's based on, you know, if you registered to vote, then you're automatically in the pool, the potential pool of jurors. In fact, my wife just got a jury questionnaire the other day, and she's filling it out. And I said, well, I don't want you on any one of my juries, because I know how
She's not going to get picked. You know that. They're going to kick her off. She's not even going to get picked. You know that.
Well, I certainly hope so, because the last thing, you know, I mean, I'll sometimes talk to her and say, well, I picked up this case and it's such and such. And she's like, guilty.
Right.
So these
Only one time has she said, you know, I don't think your client's guilty. And in that case, after a 2.5-week trial, my client was found not guilty, and she said, that's exactly the right verdict.
well, she's a little bit sharper.
No, she's not a lawyer. She's got an MBA.
Timothy, I don't think the National Guard wants to come to Detroit because Detroiters will shoot at them, or not them. If Detroiters shot, local police shoot.
Well,
I'm having trouble following you there, Timothy. What makes you think they will not shoot? Then they're not going to shoot the National Guard.
I don't think they would shoot at the National Guard. Now, there is a serious question of if you have masked, unidentified ICE agents, because there have been incidents around the country where people who weren't ICE agents have pretended to be ICE agents, and people have been essentially abducted or robbed. In fact, there was one instance where a woman was not only robbed, but she was raped by a purported ICE agent. And so in that instance, I wouldn't be surprised if you saw somebody coming at you, jumping out of a vehicle, if they didn't get shot.
But we could talk about that. You could talk about policing and, you know, what police officers should look like, what, you know, the beards. And there at one time, and Ira will verify this, you could tell a policeman walking down the street whether he was working or not working, right? Today, you don't know, which I don't really care for, but that's, maybe I'm too old school for that. So I'm not happy that I'm real happy that our black youth aren't out there fighting the National Guard and ICE agents, because that's what Trump and his people really want, arresting old white folks. And Latinos isn't making the national news every night. Thank you, Terry. Mr. Bill, we talked about that. I'm late. Karen, go back a little bit, Karen. Portland's such a chill city. Kenneth, Karen, good morning. Where is Adolph? Yep, we covered that. He'll be back very soon. Special shout out to the Nobel Committee, Kenneth. Ira, yes, they were legitimate contracts that were ignored, which is more than just ignoring a promise. You're right. How can one tell a legit ICE agent from decoys pretending to be ICE agents? You're right, Mr. 1213. It's exactly what we're talking about here.
Well, one way is that in I can't remember which jurisdiction. I think it might be Illinois. They're requiring ICE agents to wear identification and aren't allowing them to wear masks. Now, I don't know if that will stick.
Right.
The Trump administration may well go beyond the district judge's ruling to an appeals court. But basically, when you're stopped by police, you generally know they're police. And when you're stopped by an ICE agent these days, you don't know if they're ICE, you don't know if they're Border Patrol, you don't know exactly who they are. And one of the things that troubles me is when you would see Border Patrol and ICE agents dressed in military camouflage and carrying long guns. Why would you need to do that? Particularly if you're walking down Michigan Avenue in Chicago.
Well, we know the answer to that. That's the reason the National Guard is in these big cities. I had a conversation with a gentleman at the gym yesterday. He's like, "This is really working." I said, "What do you mean it's working? It's for show. Isn't that what the combat police look is for? Right. Show? Isn't that?"
Yeah. I was going to say that. Well, let me ask you. You know, the Trump administration. Do you have the stomach to deal, like Letitia James now is a little more high profile against Trump? Do you have the stomach to go up against Trump and deal with possible attacks?
Well, the way I look at it is that I think back to when Muhammad Ali decided that he wasn't going to join the army. And he was taken out of his career for 3 years. And he lost a lot of money and he lost his championship. But it was clear that he was doing what he believed to be the right thing. And, you know, I'm looking at doing the right thing. And if people come at me, so be it. You know, I'm not a youngster in the beginning of my career.
Right.
So if they come at me, they come at me. And I'll deal with it.
Right.
There's a certain level of freedom with where you are in your life, right? And we need, before we go any farther, Miss Sheila's asking a question I think we need to cover this.
Sure.
How do we find you out there? How do we find your website, or how do we?
Okay. Well, here's the first thing is it's Nokes for Attorney General, spelled Noakes. The website is under construction. My son is a website developer. However, he lives in Belgium. So we are going back and forth on the phone trying to construct the website. As far as cards and you know, those materials, our daughter is a designer who graduated from Rhode Island School of Design, and she is doing something that is probably much more esoteric than I would like. And so at some point she'll actually have it done. But right now, the main thing you can do is I do have a YouTube channel, Nokes, Democrat for Michigan Attorney General. You can find postings there. You can also find me on Facebook. You can look at Bill Nokes. And then you can also look at the alternative channel, which is Nokes, Democrat for Michigan Attorney General. And you'll find postings from me there. In either one of those sites.
Bill,
anticipate having the website up inside of the next 10 days or so.
Bill, I do have a question. How do you get the nomination? What does it take? And how can people who watch this show participate in ensuring that, you know, if they want to support you in becoming the nominee for Attorney General? What is that process?
Register to be a member of the Democratic Party. It costs $10. Then when the convention is held in April, show up in large numbers, because it's only at the convention that I would get chosen. So I will need people to come out to the convention in April and be there.
Anyone who registers can show up.
Anyone who registers as a Democrat can show up and vote. And I mean, it's a simple process.
So the real challenge is getting a nomination.
Yeah,
that's the real challenge. So I think that's what Vanessa is alluding to, is if you're going to be the Attorney General, they need to make you the Attorney General now, not
exactly.
later.
They need to nominate me in April at the convention. Oh, and so that you know, the convention this year will be in the city of Detroit. So you won't have to travel to Lansing or Grand Rapids to participate.
At the Huntington?
I anticipate it'll be at Huntington like it was some years ago.
Gotcha.
So, Bill, you have, and he's not the only viewer that feels this way. And of course, I'm going to let you respond after I respond. Eric Brown, who has a show on Detroit Black and White Reality Strike. He said he lost me at register as a Democrat. Well, here's the deal. We know that we live in a two-party system. You can, be independent all you want when you actually go in the uh, booth to vote for whoever it is. But he's asking to be the nominee. Now, you have to be a nominee either for a D or an R. Those people who are just don't want anything to do with a Democrat, that's fine. But what I say, and I think Eric is one of those people who believe this, you vote for the person, not the D or the R. This is a person, look at his credentials. And I'm not advocating for him. I'm advocating for anybody who wants the nomination. At this point, we have him as the guest on the show. So for those like Mr. Evans and Mr. Browns and all these other folks, listen, if you don't want to register as a Democrat, that's fine. He's asking to be the nominee so that he can be the person that says, hey, I am running for the Attorney General's office. I want to represent the people in the state of Michigan. And these are the things that I'm going to do.
And I can't remember, is the Attorney General, do you actually have a party designation when you run, or is it not?
Yes.
You do.
Yes, you do have a party designation. It's not nonpartisan.
I'm curious, the Supreme Court candidates do not. Do you think they should have a designation?
Well, I'd like to think that judges are nonpartisan, and to the extent that they don't have a party designation, that helps to give one a sense that they are nonpartisan. Although we know that there are those who have Republican leanings or have Democratic leanings, and at this point in time, the Supreme Court largely has a Democratic lean.
Right. I mean, they're also chosen by the Democrats. Well, and the Republicans.
They are until they're voted in. So
right.
They may fill part of a term, and then once that term expires, they have to run for election.
Right.
So the Democrats handpick their candidate. We need to push them to pick whoever we think they should pick, whether it's a Democrat or whatever the case is. It seems like candidates are being handpicked, in my opinion. My humble opinion.
And the Republicans do the same
Absolutely.
thing.
All of them. All of them. I'm not singling out the Democrats. Right. It seems like they're handpicked. Well, there's something going on behind the scenes before these individuals are handpicked. So try to influence whoever it may be that you need to influence to see that your candidate is handpicked. That's the way it looks today.
Well,
absolutely. Absolutely.
And that's the way it always has been, although it's a little bit more transparent than it once was. I mean, we're beyond the days of Mayor Daley in the back room deciding who was going to be president. So I think we've come a long way, but we've got a long way to go. And one of the things that I was listening to this morning was I was listening to a song by Sam Cooke from 1963. He released it about 2 weeks before he died. And it was entitled, A Change Is Gonna Come.
One of the great ones. One of the greatest. Yeah.
I am running because I believe a change is gonna come. But that change is only going to come if we make it come. If we don't, I think things will get worse.
And what's really interesting about Mr. Nokes is this is a gentleman he's at the end, nearing the end of his career. He has nothing to lose. They can't hurt him at this point. They can say whatever they want about you, but your record speaks for itself.
And I'm going to add is that we have to stop. Eric is pointing out that the party convention handpick every single one of their candidates. That may be true, but when you have people like Bill Nokes and other people, they're saying you can make the difference and tell them, look, this is not who we want. You can tell by the press that people get or the press that some people don't get. You can tell by the exposure that they get. But if this is someone that you think that you want to run as Attorney General, whether he's running as a Democrat because you got to pick a box, look at the individual and then you go from there. That is what I say.
And do your research. That's the key, Vanessa. We can talk about who we think is the best candidate or not the best candidate, but do your research. make your own decisions.
Right. Absolutely.
And I would put my record up against any one of the others who is running to be the Democratic nominee. I think that I would far outshine any one of them. When they talk about, I think Mark Totten talks about going to Yale Law School. Well, I went to the University of Chicago Law School, which is the same law, and I taught there, which is the same law school Barack Obama taught at.
It's a great school.
Eli Savin on his website talks about he was a college basketball player. Well, I was never good enough to play basketball in college. In fact, I wasn't good enough to play any sport in college. But you know what? I learned a few things along the way, and that's helped me get through life. And I certainly am not as good looking as Karen McDonald, but then again, I don't
know about that.
I don't wear any makeup either.
Karen says, thank you for attending. I'm going to, you attended Detroit Retirees meeting this month. I think she's impressed by you. So Karen is the person that I was referring to earlier when we were talking about pensions, who's a city of Detroit worker that, worked her whole life and got shut out. That's just, those are the things the Attorney General needs to fight for.
And as I said at that meeting, I can't make you a promise that I will fix it. But you know what? I'm damn sure going to try.
So, Miss Bill, and I call him Bill because I know him personally. Miss Sheila asked, are you available to help vulnerable citizens in your private practice? I'm going to answer that question. He helps vulnerable citizens every single day. He is a public defender with the Neighborhood Defender Services. So this is a person who helps vulnerable people all the time. That's what he does. That's who he is. So I just want to let you know that Miss Sheila and the rest of the people that are watching Detroit in Black and White. Any parting words, Bill, because we're going to wrap up with Allan and Jim, but we want you to give us some parting words.
Well, I would just say this. This is a time when we will find out what America really is, what Michigan really is, and who we really are as a people. Because so many things have gone bad, shootings, and people being hurt. And inevitably, we say, that's not who we are. Well, until we prove different, that is who we are. And I intend to do everything I can to bend that moral arc of the universe toward justice.
All right. Allan, your parting thoughts?
My parting thoughts, I watched the game last night till 1:30 or whatever after 1. It ended up being a decent season after all, although it was a lot of roller coastering and stuff. The pitching was great. The hitting was a little suspect at times, but it was a great game. It went 15 innings, and it was a good ending for the Tigers. It was time for them to end it anyways. It was a little frustrating watching them at times, but the pitching was great. It was a fun game to watch.
So, Allan, I take it they lost?
They lost.
Okay.
3-2 in the 15th inning.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Should not have pulled Skubal.
I agree. Every pitcher, Skubal should have pitched an extra inning. Finnegan should have pitched an extra inning. Vest should have pitched an extra inning. They put in Tommy Conley and they just waved the white flag and said, we're done. Time to go home. So.
Oh, goodness. And Jim, do you have any parting
words?
Just
just briefly, I took a snapshot I was in South Dakota at Mount Rushmore, and this is Thomas Jefferson in 1802, and it just reminds me of the political process and something we should think about. It says, "We act not for ourselves, but for the whole human race. The event of our experiment is to show whether man can be trusted with self-government."
All righty. All right.
That's what I'm hoping we can do.
Thomas Jefferson, 1802.
So listen, we want to thank all of you guys that watched Detroit in Black and White, that joined in the conversation in the chat. We want you to tell all your friends about what the greatest show on these YouTube streets. You can hit us. You can look at us on all social media platforms, including Facebook. You can catch us every Wednesday, Friday evening from 8:30 p.m. to 9:30 p.m. and every Saturday morning from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. We want to thank William Nokes for coming on the show. I didn't expect him to stay the whole hour, but people had questions. He did a great job. Allan, I thank you so much for asking all the great questions. We thank all of our commenters. We want you to join us again next Wednesday at 8:30 p.m. And as Jim says, Adolph is doing great. You guys will see him soon, and he has a story to share with you. All right, take care. Have a good weekend.